Well, thank you so much, Mr. Laolu Akande, former presidential aide and presenter of Inside Sources.
Thank you.
I will not tell people what we call the program here. We'll just keep it at that. Thank you so much, Mr. Laolu.
Thank you so much.
Who will tell the president that when all political parties are decimated, that his legitimacy becomes questioned?
Okay, that sounds like a wild question.
That's what you say. Who will tell the president?
Well, you know, I think that it is becoming clearer and clearer that if we want our democracy to thrive, there are times when we have to look beyond the partisan. And some of the points that I have tried to make, Kayla, is that, look, there will always be wranglings among our politicians, okay? But when it comes to the question of the democratic space, we must find a united voice to say that we don't want a constraining of the democratic space. And that is why I have said before, and I'd like to say it again, that INEC must not become a tool in the constriction, in the constraining of the democratic space. And so INEC has to be very careful the way it manages the issues when it comes to how it treats the vibrant opposition parties. You can't be careless in the way you manage them, because if you are careless, then you're probably going to say that Nigerians don't have a right to choose.
You know, we had a media chat yesterday with the APC national chairman and the national secretary, Mr. Ajibola Bashir, and what he said, there was something he said that was very pointed. We brought up the idea of, look, are you sending moles into political parties to destabilize those places? They say they are not. And we said, but it's a little difficult for us to believe you, because we have people from other political parties who are saying that they are supporting your candidate. It's hard for me to believe that they're not on your payroll. And then he said something. He said, we cannot create a department of management of opposition parties in the APC. If they do not get their house together, they do not obey the rules of court. And he noted the fact that there's something that says you should stay in one place right now, and all of you are busy doing convention. When this is nullified, is it also the APC that caused this? Is this what's going on? Is this a situation where parties are unable to sort themselves out, or is there an active movement by the Tinubu administration to bring us into a one-party state?
Very important question, but let's first of all straighten it out that a political party having moles in another political party is regular stuff. You know, it does happen. There are APC moles in ADC, and I can bet that there are ADC moles in the APC. You know, and we even have the case of a very open mole, which is Nyesom Wike. Nyesom Wike is an open mole. Everybody knows that is representing APC in PDP. So that's not the problem that we have. And that's what I meant when we say that there will always be rankings.
If you're open, are you a mole? Mole's hide.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I call it open mole, and I put, inverted commas. You know, but the point is that those kinds of wranglings will always happen. Okay, what shouldn't happen is denying Nigerians of an opportunity for a vibrant choice in the presidential elections. Nigerians want to have to choose, just like Femi Falana said, they want to choose who among the oppressors to govern them. Don't deny them that right. And that is up to INEC. INEC has got to be very, very careful how you place that game. Yes, of course, parties may be not as diligent as possible. In APC, there are issues of that lack of diligence in APC. And so it is also in ADC. So we must raise the bar and say that, look, what is important is that we want a contest. We want a contest. We said before, you remember, Kayla, that we don't want somebody to do a coup to remove the president. No. We want there to be an election. Now, INEC should not prevent that competition to happen.
Since you brought up INEC, the credibility of our INEC chairman.
Yeah.
And you know why this is, and I think I said it here during the week, why this is particularly troubling is that this is coming before the elections. Typically, it's after the election that we start to look at the credibility of
exactly.
But before the election, and he says it's not him. I think, well, looking at it from how people online are talking about the INEC chairman, it does feel like many people don't believe him when he says it wasn't him that made those tweets. And it's bringing a bigger question in my head. So as we are now, we don't know if we'll be appointed one day as INEC chairman. The things I said online, should I be worried about those things being something that will stop me from entering into that office? Should my partisanship only begin when I am made INEC chairman, or should I be planning it my whole life? I mean, what do you make of this situation?
So that is why in the Constitution, even though I would have preferred a situation where the president does not have a hand at all
in the nomination,
which is what the commission that former President Yaradua, God bless his soul, that was the commission that set up. That was what they recommended. Now we don't want the president doing that stuff. By the way, now people like David Mark and Atiku and Tambuwa, they seem to now buy that logic. But those were the same people who, when they were in office, did not make it happen. That's a different point. But coming back to the issue of the INEC chairman and his credibility, I think Professor Joash Amupitan must make a statement today to say that what Mr. Akpabio said yesterday or 2 days ago, that is not correct. Because Akpabio said publicly that was Amupitan's handle. That's what Akpabio said.
And the way he said victory is sure. Wouldn't there be victory at the end of the election? So now, you think it's him who said that?
Yes. So people inside this government, represented by Akpabio, who has now spoken publicly, have now given us a hint that Mr. Amupitan, Professor Amupitan, and I'm very sorry to say this, is a liar. He's a liar. And I don't think that him saying that victory is sure, I don't think that one is so much a problem. But to now say that is not his handle.
And to change the name.
When we have the digital print.
Footprint. I think
and now Akpabio has come to the open to say that what Amupitan said. I mean, so I am very disappointed at the level that Mr. Amupitan will go to keep this job.
Somebody should be fired. The person who changed that, if really, because an inquiry is on. Let's be fair. There's an inquiry going on right now.
Who is doing the inquiry?
INEC.
No, INEC cannot inquire
on INEC. It's the strangest dynamic, I know. But an inquiry is on right now. But I feel like someone should be fired. The person who changed, if that inquiry comes out and it's actually Professor Joash Amupitan that owned that X account, the person that changed the name, not knowing that your digital footprint stays regardless of whether you change the name of the account or not.
I think
that's basic,
isn't it? I think it was very careless of Professor Amupitan and his handlers to have issued that press statement. It was needless. All you needed to do was to just stay cool, so that you don't have to go out and tell a lie. Look, and let's say this for all spokespersons publicly. When you can't say the truth, you can shut up, okay? Because when you say a lie, when you speak speak out falsehood, somebody someday is going to find out. And this was what I adopted. If I can't tell the truth, I'm going to shut up. And Kela is going to be running after me. I'm going to try and see how much of Kela I can avoid, so that I don't have to tell that. The chairman of INEC.
That brought back a lot of memories just now.
Exactly.
I'm chasing you around.
Exactly. INEC had no business issuing that statement. They were supposed to just keep quiet, because from all indications, that was Amupitan's handle.
Well, let's wait for the inquiry.
Has told us now that it is.
Let's wait for the inquiry to
all
come up. Ayo has a few questions for you. Go ahead, Ayo.
I will leave both of you to the INEC chairman and the conversation the two of you have been having. As Mr. Akande has proposed, I will shut up on that one. But there's something troubling, Laolu. We are media men. And the insecurity taking place all over the nation is definitely very, very disheartening. For a pressman to have to report the same thing over and over again, very, very disheartening. But then there was an interview we conducted on our sister program on Saturday, 2 Saturdays back. We were speaking with one of the authors of the Global Terrorism Index. And we were asking him, what's the source of the information that they put together to form the Global Terrorism Index? And one of the things that he said to me is the reason I'm asking you this question, that the media reportage is a major source of gathering information about Global Terrorism Index, particularly as it concerns countries, and it also informs the rating of those countries. So what's your take on that? Because there are those who have said that on the one hand, we have a responsibility as media men to report everything that is happening in the country as much as we can. On the other hand, is the image that whatever job we're doing is giving the country at the same time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a catch-22, and even maybe was a dilemma for those of us in the media, because we want to be very, very careful of what we report, to be sure that it's accurate, and also to reflect our country, our beloved country, in good light. But we really don't have much of a choice, because ultimately you need to reflect exactly what it is that is happening. So the media is a mirror. We don't make those things happen. Okay? We reflect the reality. And part of what I have seen, while I'm answering your question, Ayo, is that the consistency and the persistence of these killings and this violence and this banditry and this terrorism is beginning to lower the level of our humanity, if there's anything like that. We are becoming desensitized because it is now happening so regularly. The outrage is not as strong as it ought to be. It was why, in some of our own editions in Inside Sources, we started to call out the names of the victims so that Nigerians can be reminded that these are also human beings. They have aspirations, they had ambitions, they have families. Some of them wanted to marry, go into business, go to school. So ultimately, to answer your question, Hayot, the media has to do its job. The question is up to the Nigerian people and our leaders to put an end to this to this menace which has continued to reflect badly on all of us, government and people of Nigeria.
There's also this, still on that same matter, but perhaps a different perspective. You recall that a list of about 48 people was released recently as the list of the terrorism funders in the country. Now we have names, not just of the victims that you put out, but of people who are funding the problem. I'm wondering, one of the questions that was asked on our sister station by a guest was, okay, so now we have the list. How many of them have been arrested? How many of them have been put in jail? Where are they? Those questions are still being asked. I wonder why, Mr. Akande.
Yeah, I mean, very, very important question. And the other question is also that those names that we've seen, for the most part, we don't know anything about them. Who are these people? What are their profiles? Are they fronts for other people? So it is good that the names have been released, but we need to have the profiles of these people. Who are they? And then, of course, take them to court. The Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Prince Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, has done a good thing by doing this mass trial of suspects, but we haven't seen the financiers in court. We haven't seen the commanders of terrorism and the violence, the big players. We haven't seen them. So those names that we've seen take them to court, and then give us more information. Who are these people? And by the way, if they are fronts, suspected to be fronts for some other people, let us know who they are. That is how the name and shame can work. If the names of the people are not known, if we don't have their profile, if you don't know who they are really, then it may not have the impact of the name and shame that it ought to have, so that we can begin to pick up the pieces of our lives again as a nation and people.
After all, there is more than one Akande and there's more than one Laolu Akande, so we really need to know which of them is the one fomenting the trouble according to the list that's been released. Now, these questions that I asked Mr. Akande are against the backdrop of what the President of the Senate said, that sometimes insecurity spikes when elections are approaching. It's a fact we have seen over time, but then it's the lives of our people that we are putting in jeopardy in the name of wanting to get to power by all means. Is there a way you think we can disconnect insecurity from election? Maybe by, I don't know, make it a little less attractive to get into politics?
Yeah, I mean, first, thank you for asking that question. I think it's important for us to say that the remark that was made by the President of the Senate is not, I don't think is very, very good, to speak like that, even if that were correct, because it doesn't inspire hope, it doesn't inspire confidence, it doesn't inspire any realization of the fact that the people in government know what they are doing. Because you are saying that you know the people that are fomenting this trouble, and you even know why they are fomenting the trouble, but you haven't gone after them. I mean, if there are people that you know for political reasons are doing these things, Mr. Akpabio, what you should be telling us is that these people are being dealt with and this is what is happening. It is a very reckless statement, with due respect, Senate President, for you to speak like that. It's completely irresponsible. It doesn't portray you as the number 3 man of Nigeria, as somebody that cares about the feelings of Nigeria, of Nigerians. And this level of insensitivity and being careless about what you say, what you tell Nigeria, it has to stop. And I think the way to start is for the Senate President to make a serious statement to say that these and these and these are the people involved, and this is how we are going after them. What laws are you making in the Senate to go after those people? How are you working with the executive arm of government to go after these people? It is completely useless of you telling us, that this is connected to the elections, and then we all sit back, and then we continue to suffer.
He said 2 weeks after the election, just watch, there'll be no more insecurity.
I think it's a joke taken too far.
And I know that he was saying it in jest, and everyone was laughing, and he has a tendency, really, the Senate President, to be a jokester somewhat, and I get the mood of it, and I know that his aides right now will be telling him, no, sir, you were saying it in jest, they are making a mountain. No, the idea is you're supposed to be a little bit more careful, considering the times that we're in, Nigeria. Because people have been dying every day.
Can you imagine?
We have been having attacks every single day. So, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how he's going to bounce back from that, but I think he'll be fine. Speaking of people that need bouncing back, our security chiefs. I think what happens with insecurity in Nigeria is that we report when the bad things happen, don't we? We show it all. People were killed here, in Gili Market, and here and here. But and I think I follow the armed forces, and they do precision strikes almost every single day. But those aren't as publicized as the attacks by terrorists. But is there some kind of accountability that we should demand from our security chiefs right now?
Yeah, I think the president has a duty to do that. We don't have all the information, but what we see is that just like Governor Zulum, said this. I mean, many of these things, we are not the ones saying it. We are just highlighting it. Governor Zulum said, I think yesterday, that the death of General Primo was avoidable. That's the governor of the state.
Go back to Kebbi. Remember the Kebbi governor?
And then the Kebbi governor too said that 45 minutes before
that they were withdrawn. Nothing has happened after that.
Yeah. So these are the things that we know that bothers us, that what is going on. Somebody ought to be taking the fall for these things. But we don't see any heads rolling. You know, the president, I imagine, knows exactly what he's doing. But the president must understand that even for the purposes of public trust and his own credibility, he must impose consequences for all of these things that is going on in our country.
Thank you so much, Mr.